What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Stando TV here. Along with me is Hershey1103, as always. Welcome to another episode of the Film Gurus. This week, we are talking about the movie K-Pax, starring Kevin Spacey and Jeff Bridges. Hershey, how are you doing today, brother?
Doing wonderful, man. Doing absolutely fantastic. And yourself?
Awesomely flippin' fluffin' fantastic, my friend. Let's talk about this movie. What did you think overall?
Overall, it was freaking amazing. It was probably one of the best movies I've seen in a long time. It had some feel-good moments. It had drama. It had pretty much everything I was looking for in a good movie. Kevin Spacey was great. Jeff Bridges was really good. It was just an all-around good movie.
I think one of the reasons why this movie hit a critical wall is because it's marketed as a sci-fi film, which I don't think there is some sci-fi elements to it, but a psychological drama overall is what it is. I mean, it's a showcase piece for Kevin Spacey and Jeff Bridges, who were fantastic actors, and the relationship is more on the focus of the relationship of a psychiatrist doctor and his patient being able to talk within the normal realms of conversation instead of the doctor-patient stereotypical tropes that we throw ourselves through.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Definitely, I think the sci-fi element did definitely hurt it critics-wise, and I think it would have done well with the psychological drama tag instead. And I agree with you. It is kind of one of those movies that it's about the two of them, their interaction, their transition from general therapist and patient to kind of being on the same level.
Right, as equals.
Exactly.
But what's happened is Kevin Spacey's character claims that he is an extraterrestrial from a planet called K-Pax, which is 1,000 light years away in the Lyra constellation, and he goes by the name of Prot. What do you think of Prot?
It's definitely one of those characters that has like you immediately get this sense of all-knowing straight from the character. It's kind of like one of those, I don't want to say Willy Wonka, but it has like that feel of like the character knows everything pretty much and is kind of this, well, not to use the word too much, but kind of a guru sense from him. Like he just knows everything.
Right. He's kind of eccentric, yes, and eccentric, honest about who he thinks he is, and he's very, I don't know, he's weird. He knows things that other people doesn't know, and he holds that knowledge over them, but I don't think he does it in an innocent way, like he doesn't know better. But at the same time, though, like he knows all about these constellations, but at the same time, he eats a banana without peeling it. So, you know, it's who's to say, are you just because you're intelligent and you know how the constellations and stars and universe works, but yet you eat a banana without peeling it? Who's smarter here, really? You know. But anyway, what do you think?
Yeah, it kind of gives that lack of common sense feel, where he's just this. It's one of those typical, like I was saying before, very like intelligent person, but has like he definitely has like a common sense, a lack of common sense that makes it kind of comical in certain points. And I think the character does develop pretty well throughout the story. I mean, it starts out with him, you know, first showing up and having the conversation on the train, or just previously before that, and he's got that. He's always has his glasses on, and says, I didn't come by train, I came up from, and he points up to the ceiling, I believe.
You're right. And people think he's crazy because he identifies being this alien, but there's some things to his story that kind of make sense, and then there's things to his story that kind of don't. For example, he looks like one of us. He's human, but yet he has to wear the sunglasses, and we find out that in actuality, he is sensitive to UV light because he sees UV. He sees the ultraviolet beams that we, as normal human beings, don't see, which is kind of weird. And then him being able to solve complex astronomical puzzles brilliantly just doesn't add up to what we as humans understand. But at the same time, later on down the film, we find that this guy, he has a past, or this body has a past. So something's happened, something traumatic has happened to this individual.
Yes.
Let's talk about Dr. Mark Powell, played by Jeff Bridges, of course. What do you think of Jeff Bridges in this film?
I thought he was brilliant. He did a great job. He has this in the beginning of the movie, he's got this air of, I wouldn't say it's totalitarian, but it's kind of like he doesn't, he talks to his patients and to his wife, but he doesn't really talk to them. He doesn't listen to them.
Right.
He just kind of tunes them out. And it's perfect. It works really well with the entire story. I really liked Jeff Bridges as this character. I thought he had this very droll, dry sense, which gives this character of the depth that it needs for this role. I think that his interaction with Prot is perfect. It gives him the sense that he's like kind of sinking as he's talking more to Prot, and like he doesn't know what he's doing, what he's going to do.
Right. We find out that Jeff Bridges' character in the beginning of the film, he's kind of fell into that rut of, even though he's a psychiatrist, his job is helping people. He does it day in, day out, that it just becomes, you automatically start blocking stuff out and doing things so routinely. And so, it's like when you first learn how to ride a bike, it's kind of hard and it's exciting, but after you just do. And so that's the way he's doing this doctor thing, is he's just doing. And it's not until Prot comes along that he becomes challenged and intrigued again, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, that's definitely, it is a very interesting concept. And it gives it more than just the singular depth of Prot thinks he's an alien or says he's an alien, and everybody else isn't sure if they believe him or not. It gives it a new depth of story.
But Dr. Powell also has some huge problems going on at home. Like you said, he's not talking to his wife like he's supposed to. He has a son that is estranged. So he's got the family thing going, but he's not very connected with them, I guess you can say.
I'd say active is probably a good way to put it. He's not active with his family.
Right. But so they start having these, later on in the film, Prot explains that he's going to be leaving at a certain date. And that means Dr. Powell has a deadline to figure out what's wrong with Prot, because he believes that something traumatized him in the past with correlation to that date. And once that date arrives, something terrible is going to happen to his newfound friend Prot, who is also his patient. And he genuinely wants to help him. And he's afraid that Prot may simply be an alter ego of another being within itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we find out that that's Robert Porter. So what happens is we see Dr. Powell going through looking for all these. Was it meat? They were slaughtering houses on the riverbanks, and anyway, he finds this place that in New Mexico that is best described by how Prot, from some of the sessions Prot has told him. So he's got information there, and then actual information. He thinks that this is the location. He goes and finds out that yes, there was a guy down here named Robert Porter, whose life has been devastated by the murder of his wife and child. And this is an iffy scene. You want to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, the scene was. It's definitely disturbing, and I know it's supposed to just give you the sense of wow, he really is crazy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I mean, it gave me that sense of wow, he's a psycho. But at the same time, it was also like, geez, no wonder he has so much trauma in his life, and no wonder he believes he's like this, because it does give you it immediately at first gives you this feeling of wow, this is what happened. This is why he's the way he is. He's blocking himself from reality because of something so terrible.
Right. So his wife and child are just to be a little bit more in depth. What is going on is his wife and child were raped and murdered, and he comes home while the evildoer is still there, takes a life, and then tries to take his own life by going into the river. And Dr. Powell believes that he is sort of this traumatized amnesia that's come over him, and now this new persona has taken the place of what was Robert Porter.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's definitely an interesting. But do you want to take us to probably the end of the film? What's going on? What Prot's relationship with his fellow patients are, and things like that?
Yeah. Towards the end of the film, he has kind of this. Everybody kind of wants to be around Prot because Prot promises. Well, one, Prot has helped a lot of them feel better about their lives, but also Prot has promised them that he'll take the one of them with him back when he goes back to K-Pax. So all of them are kind of clamoring to be around Prot and with Prot and want to leave to K-Pax with Prot. So towards the end of the film, as it's getting closer to the date where Prot is supposed to leave for K-Pax, excuse me.
All right,
everybody's watching the cameras, and watching over Prot to see what's going on, and of course the doctor is tired and hasn't slept, so he ends up sleeping almost through the experience, and ends up running towards the door to find out what's going on with Prot. The cameras for a second blink out, and as the doctor runs into the room to make sure Prot isn't gone, he looks on the bed and no one's there. Everybody's disappeared, and for a moment he thinks he's gone, he left. And then he looks under the bed, and Prot, or I guess at this point Robert Porter is laying under the bed. They pull him out and they wheel him away, and everybody's looking at him, and all the patients that Prot had helped is saying, "Oh, that's not him. He's gone. That's somebody else."
Yeah, that was unique. The patients, after these chain of events, the patients are looking at the body of Robert Porter, and they're saying, "That's not Prot. That's not the same guy," which means that they saw something else within that body, or something else about that being, and it's no longer there, which means it did leave and go somewhere else. which was kind of a ballsy move to put in the film like that, just so bluntly and plainly. But going on to a little bit before, backing up just a little bit before this event actually occurs, is kind of the in between when Dr. Powell comes back from New Mexico and confronts Prot through these series of regression hypnosis where they're going back, and it is confirmed that he is this Robert Porter, but then he's not. Prot will say things like, so you found him, when I leave, make sure you take care of him. And that sort of thing. And but I think one of the biggest things that Port does for Powell's character, because he's helped all these other patients through various means, but one of the things that he does specifically to help Dr. Powell is he gives him some advice, and the advice that he gives him before this incident is, the people of K-Pax have discovered that their universe will repeat its events again and again, so the mistakes that we make will repeat forever. And what he's saying is, a long time ago we realized that the universe continually expands and expands and then collapses on itself, and each time it's the same. Each time it expands and collapses on itself, it's the same. So this is literally your only chance to make up with your son, and life's too short, which is an excellent piece of advice, I think.
Yeah, I thought it was very good advice, and I thought the way that the whole experience affected Dr. Powell was pretty perfect. It gave it a sense of closure, not just in the original story. Well, the original story had a real sense of closure. It kind of messed with your head. But the part with Powell and his family definitely felt fulfilled due to Prot and his conversation.
Right, and at the end of the film, we have a comatose Robert Porter in a wheelchair, and Dr. Powell is continuously giving him updates on everybody else that was in the therapy group. And, of course, Dr. Powell reconciles with his son, which is fantastic. Overall, I really enjoyed this film. This was one of my choices. So, of course, I'm biased, and I'm probably going to give it a 5 out of 5 faraway planets.
Yeah, no, I'm not biased, and I love this movie. I thought it was great. I definitely would give it a 5 out of 5 eccentric aliens.
Basically, there's not a whole lot of action in this movie. It's solely the performance of Jeff Bridges and Kevin Spacey that drive this film home. I mean, that's what it is. It's a showcase for them. It is their acting chops carry you all the way through, and I think it's a very awesome film.
And for me, this film would not have been what it is without either of those actors. It doesn't matter who they played to put in the role. I don't think it would have been anywhere near as good.
Right. Yeah, there's a natural chemistry that you felt between the two in their characters. Absolutely. All right. What film are we doing next week, Hershey? It's your pick.
We are doing Silver Linings Playbook featuring Jenna. I can never remember her name. Jennifer. The girl from Hunger Games. And Bradley Cooper.
Awesome.
Dramedy.
Awesome. Well, until next time, guys, this has been your episode of The Film Grooves, and we'll see you next time. Have a good one.